This is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils, and that's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings and the darkest theory.
God doesn't exist. Human being is the measure of all things.
In many ways, the first book was the Bible. I mean, literally.
The Bible got it right. They got the order right.
Right.
The Book of Enoch. With roots tracing back thousands of years, the Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish text that has captivated theologians, historians, and spiritual seekers alike.
Like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad.
All of us do things every day which are unreasonable, sinful, wrong, and absurd.
But while it was excluded from most versions of the Bible, this intriguing work remains a sacred part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's canon, offering a unique perspective on angels, demons, and the secrets of the heavens.
The Book of Enoch.
The Book of Enoch, powerful book. You know that Enoch was a real powerful man because he's talked about in the Bible, yet his book is not in the Bible.
The Book of Enoch is a text surrounded by mystery, reverence, and fascination. Although excluded from many versions of the Bible, it has captivated religious scholars, historians, and believers worldwide for centuries. Today, we're diving into the profound significance of the Book of Enoch, its ties to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and the hidden truths it claims to reveal. Let's start by examining exactly what the Book of Enoch is. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish religious work attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Despite being considered apocryphal in most of Christianity, it's an essential text in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and is even included in their canon. But why? What's so important about this ancient text, and what does it reveal? The Book of Enoch has intrigued scholars and mystics because it covers topics that seem otherworldly and unique. Dating back to at least the 3rd century BCE, it delves into visions of heaven and hell, the journey of angels, and complex prophecies about the end of days. Its most remarkable contribution is the detailed account of a group of angels called the Watchers, who descend from heaven to mate with human women, creating a hybrid race of giants called the Nephilim. This narrative echoes ancient myths across cultures of divine beings intermingling with humans, creating beings that were half gods or half divine. In the Book of Enoch, these angels are condemned for their actions. They reveal forbidden knowledge to humans, everything from weapon making to cosmetics, and they teach humanity sorcery and astrology. This knowledge supposedly corrupts humanity, contributing to the eventual flood that would cleanse the world. These angels, now fallen, become demons, trapped in hellish realms, according to Enoch's vision. While this Book of Enoch isn't part of the canonical Jewish or Christian Bibles, some of its themes overlap with the Book of Genesis, particularly in the account of the Nephilim. Genesis 6 briefly mentions these sons of God and daughters of men, which has often been interpreted as a cryptic reference to the angels and their descendants mentioned in Enoch. The Book of Enoch that provides a much fuller account of these angels and their activities, suggesting a richer mythological history that was possibly known to ancient Jewish communities, but eventually omitted or minimized in mainstream scriptures. Scholars often point to Enoch as evidence of a complex web of beliefs in early Judaism, including mysticism, angelology, and demonology. This book's inclusion in Ethiopian canon suggests that it wasn't entirely forgotten, but was perhaps selectively preserved. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church stands apart in its adherence to certain ancient scriptures, including the Book of Enoch, that other Christian sects either disregard or deem apocryphal. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church was one of the earliest Christian churches, establishing itself in the 4th century and forming a unique Christian identity that includes texts not found in other Bibles. In Ethiopia, the Book of Enoch is considered sacred and is part of the official canon of the Bible. But why does the Ethiopian Church hold this book in such high regard? Part of it may be due to the Church's isolation from the influence of the Roman Empire, allowing it to preserve elements of early Christianity that were lost or removed elsewhere. The Church's unique relationship with the Book of Enoch also suggests that they view the wisdom and warnings within it as vital to understanding divine mysteries and humanity's place in the cosmos. One of the most compelling aspects of the Book of Enoch is Enoch's journey through the heavens, where he encounters angelic beings, realms of light and darkness, and divine mysteries. Enoch's descriptions of these realms echo later mystical writings and are considered a precursor to both Jewish Kabbalah and Christian mysticism. In Enoch's visions, we're taken beyond the earthly realm and shown a cosmic structure that includes places of punishment for fallen angels and those who have committed grave sins. The visions Enoch recounts appear to be rich in symbolism. For many, they provide insight into the structure of the cosmos, the afterlife, and the profound mysteries that exist beyond the physical world. The prophecies in the Book of Enoch include themes of divine judgment, redemption, and the establishment of a messianic kingdom. The book forewarns of a great flood, a prophecy connected to Noah. But there are also references to future judgments and the coming of a messianic figure who will bring justice. These prophecies reflect a worldview in which cosmic justice prevails and where evil will ultimately be punished. These prophetic elements likely contributed to its acceptance in Ethiopian tradition, where themes of divine justice resonate strongly. In the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Enoch's prophecies are often seen as allegories for spiritual truths and the eventual restoration of divine order. In this Book of Enoch, the role of angels and demons takes center stage, with angels acting as both teachers and punishers of humanity. The Watchers, initially sent to observe humanity, overstep their bounds and impart forbidden knowledge, only to fall from grace and be condemned. This narrative aligns with Ethiopian Orthodox teachings about spiritual warfare, where angels and demons have a real, tangible influence on the material and spiritual world. The idea that angels could rebel and fall, as described in Enoch, forms a theological basis for understanding evil and temptation. In Ethiopian Orthodox doctrine, there is a strong emphasis on vigilance against spiritual corruption, which can be linked to the teachings within the Book of Enoch. One of the biggest questions surrounding the Book of Enoch is why it was excluded from the mainstream Bible. Some scholars argue that its content was too mystical and controversial. The book's portrayal of angels, for example, challenges traditional views, as does its apocalyptic tone and detailed descriptions of divine realms and punishments. The decision to exclude Enoch may have stemmed from a desire to streamline Christian doctrine, focusing on the core teachings of Jesus. Nevertheless, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's preservation of Enoch reminds us of the diversity within early Christianity and the varied ways different Christian communities interpreted sacred texts. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was lost to Western Christianity until its rediscovery in the 18th century when a Scottish explorer, James Bruce, brought Ethiopian manuscripts back to Europe. This discovery sparked a renewed interest in the text, and it wasn't long before scholars, theologians, and even mystics began examining its contents with fresh eyes. Today, the Book of Enoch holds a place in the study of ancient religious traditions and remains a subject of fascination in academic and esoteric circles alike. Its presence in the Ethiopian Orthodox canon keeps it alive as a genuine part of Christian spirituality. Modern readers are often drawn to the Book of Enoch for its mystical elements and alternative narrative. In an age where people seek spiritual meaning outside conventional religious frameworks, Enoch provides a pathway to explore angelology, cosmology, and ancient wisdom. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, by preserving this book, offers an ancient perspective that continues to inspire. Enoch resonates with modern seekers because it addresses universal themes: the allure of forbidden knowledge, the fall of powerful beings, and the quest for divine truth. These are themes that transcend any single religion, making Enoch's message compelling across ages and cultures. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church's preservation of texts like Enoch reflects a broader commitment to maintaining early Christian teachings. Unlike other branches of Christianity that adapted over centuries, the Ethiopian Church has largely retained its original practices, traditions, and scriptures, providing a unique glimpse into ancient Christianity. The Book of Enoch, through the Ethiopian Church, has survived as more than just a historical artifact. It is a living testament to the diversity within early Christianity and the rich, complex belief systems that shaped it. The Book of Enoch serves as a timeless warning about the dangers of arrogance, forbidden knowledge, and moral decay. As humanity advances technologically and ethically, Enoch's themes resonate even more powerfully. The warnings about knowledge leading to downfall suggest a cautionary perspective on human endeavors and the ethical limits of our pursuits. The Book of Enoch describes the seven heavens, a mystical cosmology that mirrors some of the layers found in later Kabbalistic traditions and ancient spiritual texts. These heavens represent realms or dimensions beyond our world, each guarded by angels and inhabited by various beings. The journey through these heavens is essentially a journey towards divine understanding, where each level unveils more about the structure of the universe and the nature of God. In these heavens, Enoch witnesses beings of light, angels who act as scribes, and celestial cities built by these divine figures. Each level reveals deeper knowledge, but the last heaven is especially significant. It's here that Enoch meets the divine throne and sees God's face, a privilege denied to most prophets. This imagery is potent and has been interpreted as a symbol of spiritual ascent, where understanding deepens through self-purification and devotion. In the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, this journey can be seen as a metaphor for the spiritual path toward ultimate communion with God. Enoch's identity as the first scribe is one of the most interesting roles in the text. Traditionally, Enoch is considered to have recorded the divine secrets, celestial laws, and the histories of the angels. In many ways, he's seen as the first scribe of heaven, a role that underscores the importance of wisdom and knowledge in ancient Jewish and Christian thought. The figure of Enoch as the scribe has also influenced later religious traditions, where Enoch is seen as the model of someone granted special insight into the mysteries of the universe. He embodies wisdom, a quality central to understanding both divine and human existence. In Ethiopian Orthodoxy, where saints and spiritual figures are often depicted as holders of divine knowledge, Enoch's role as the scribe carries profound significance, representing humanity's quest to understand God's will. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church's unique preservation of the Book of Enoch has piqued the interest of historians and theologians for centuries. Ethiopia's early adoption of Christianity and its relative isolation from the influence of the Roman Empire allowed it to develop independently, resulting in a canon that preserved ancient texts like Enoch, while many other Christian traditions left it out. Ethiopia's preservation of Enoch may also reflect an ancient cultural reverence for the prophetic and mystical elements within the text. For Ethiopians, Enoch's message may have seemed essential to understanding the cosmic order and God's justice, aligning with the Church's emphasis on the importance of both divine law and prophecy. This preservation demonstrates how Ethiopia views the wisdom of its forefathers, cherishing ancient knowledge that is often discarded elsewhere. Jewish mysticism, especially the Kabbalah, has echoes of Enoch's visions and teachings. The concept of ascending through divine realms, the focus on angelic hierarchies, and the search for hidden wisdom are all themes that Kabbalists later explored in depth. In some ways, Enoch's journey through the heavens is a prototype for Kabbalistic ascension, where one learns the structure of the divine world and understands the unity of all creation. Kabbalists believe in the ability to ascend through meditation, knowledge, and spiritual practice, much like Enoch does in his journey. The seven heavens and angelic intermediaries resonate with the Kabbalistic idea that divine knowledge is layered and requires deep spiritual insight to comprehend. Enoch's ascent thus finds parallels in Jewish mysticism, and scholars have suggested that Kabbalah may have drawn from or been inspired by the Book of Enoch. Modern audiences often interpret the Book of Enoch through unconventional lenses, including theories about ancient aliens and lost civilizations. Some proponents of the ancient astronaut theory believe that the descriptions of the Watchers, beings from another realm who interact with humans and impart forbidden knowledge, are veiled references to extraterrestrials visiting Earth. In this view, the Watchers and Nephilim are reinterpreted as ancient aliens who influenced early human civilizations. This theory posits that the advanced knowledge like metallurgy and astrology could have been imparted by extraterrestrial beings rather than angels. While the Ethiopian Orthodox Church does not support this interpretation, the theory has contributed to the Book of Enoch's appeal, especially among those interested in alternative histories and extraterrestrial life. The apocalyptic themes in Enoch have strongly influenced Christian texts, particularly the New Testament's Book of Revelation. Scholars see parallels between Enoch's prophecies of divine judgment, cosmic battles, and the role of angels and demons with themes found in Revelation. Enoch's vision of a final battle between good and evil, where God's justice ultimately prevails, is echoed in the New Testament apocalyptic writings. This apocalyptic focus on divine judgment and the battle between light and dark resonates deeply within the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, which emphasizes the need for righteousness and vigilance against sin. Enoch's prophecies warn humanity to remain faithful and avoid corruption, a message that continues to influence Ethiopian teachings on morality and ethics. Enoch's warnings to humanity are not limited to spiritual corruption. They extend to ethical conduct and social justice. The Watchers corrupt humanity not only by imparting forbidden knowledge, but also by promoting violence and pride. Enoch warns that such behavior inevitably leads to destruction, not only on an individual level, but on a societal one. These ethical teachings are particularly relevant today, where themes of unchecked power, greed, and ethical decay continue to resonate. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church interprets Enoch's message as a call to pursue a life of righteousness, humility, and faithfulness. Enoch's ethical warnings offer a universal message about the importance of living a life aligned with divine principles, rejecting pride and materialism. The Book of Enoch also presents a complex cosmology that describes the movement of the sun, moon, stars, and other celestial bodies. The book's Astronomical Book section offers detailed insights into celestial cycles, which some believe reflects an advanced understanding of the cosmos. While these descriptions are often metaphorical, they could represent an ancient attempt to explain the universe's structure. For the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, these descriptions symbolize divine order and the harmony of creation. Enoch's teachings suggest that everything in the universe is interconnected, a lesson that encourages reverence for both the physical and spiritual worlds. In recent decades, the Book of Enoch has entered popular culture, appearing in books, movies, and television series that explore themes of angels, demons, and hidden wisdom. Its depiction in media often emphasizes the mysterious and apocalyptic elements, drawing attention to the book's portrayal of cosmic battles and divine judgment. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, while aware of Enoch's cultural impact, views the text as a sacred scripture, not a source of entertainment. However, the popularity of Enoch's themes in modern culture shows how universal these ideas are. They tap into humanity's curiosity about the unknown and the moral struggle between good and evil. Today, Enoch is studied by people of various faiths and backgrounds, offering insight into humanity's ancient past and spiritual evolution. The book's themes appeal to those interested in ancient wisdom, offering a rich source of knowledge that complements mainstream religious beliefs. Its survival in Ethiopian Christianity underscores its relevance and encourages people to explore texts that fall outside conventional doctrine. Ultimately, the Book of Enoch asks the timeless questions: what is humanity's purpose? What happens after death? Why does evil exist? In answering these questions, Enoch provides a unique lens, presenting a universe filled with both darkness and light, where divine beings influence human destiny, and the soul's journey is eternal. For the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, these questions are answered within the framework of divine justice and eternal life. The Church sees Enoch as part of a larger biblical tapestry, illuminating the relationship between humanity, angels, and God. Enoch's message is about striving for righteousness, understanding our place in the cosmos, and seeking divine truth. One of the most enduring contributions of the Book of Enoch to Christian theology is its portrayal of the Watchers, a group of angels who fell from grace after becoming entangled in earthly matters. This concept profoundly influenced the development of Christian views on fallen angels, providing a basis for understanding the existence of malevolent supernatural forces in the world. The Watcher's story sheds light on why some spiritual beings, originally created for good, ended up opposing divine will. The idea of fallen angels has shaped countless theological debates and interpretations within Christianity. The Book of Enoch vividly details how these angels descended to earth, corrupted humanity with forbidden knowledge, and led to widespread moral decay. This narrative resonated with early Christian theologians, who sought to explain the origins of evil and sin. It also played a role in shaping the view that spiritual beings could possess free will, capable of choosing between loyalty to God and rebellion. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church views the Watcher's story as a cautionary tale about the dangers of pride, temptation, and losing one's divine purpose. For believers, it serves as a reminder that humanity must remain vigilant against forces that seek to lead them astray. The Book of Enoch is filled with apocalyptic prophecies, and its vivid descriptions of divine judgment and cosmic upheaval directly influenced early Jewish and Christian apocalyptic literature. Many elements in Enoch can be found in later apocalyptic texts, especially the Book of Revelation in the New Testament. Both texts contain visions of heaven, angels, and terrifying imagery depicting the end of days and the ultimate triumph of divine justice. In the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, Enoch's prophecies emphasize the importance of preparing for the afterlife and leading a righteous life to be on the side of divine justice. Ethiopian religious teachings often draw from Enoch's prophecies to remind followers of the transitory nature of earthly life and the eternal consequences of their actions. This focus on the end times and the final judgment is meant to instill a sense of accountability, encouraging individuals to adhere to ethical principles and uphold justice. Enoch's themes, particularly the stories of heavenly beings descending to earth and interacting with humans, can be seen echoed in myths from various cultures around the world. The idea of divine beings teaching forbidden knowledge or engaging in relationships with humans is not unique to Enoch. Similar stories are found in Greek, Mesopotamian, and Hindu mythologies. In Greek mythology, for instance, the story of the Titans rebelling against the gods of Olympus and Prometheus's punishment for giving fire to humanity reflect themes of divine rebellion and the consequences of transgressing sacred boundaries. Similarly, in Hindu mythology, the Devas, gods, and Asuras, demons, often compete for power and occasionally interact with humans, teaching forbidden knowledge or challenging divine laws. These cross-cultural parallels suggest that the ideas within this Book of Enoch tap into universal human themes about divine beings, cosmic order, and the consequences of pride and disobedience. For the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, these themes are evidence of God's universal truth, resonating across cultures and demonstrating the timeless relevance of Enoch's teachings. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church places significant emphasis on the reality of angels, spirits, and otherworldly beings, all of which play a central role in the Book of Enoch. In Ethiopian spirituality, angels are viewed as active agents in the lives of believers, guiding, protecting, and serving as intermediaries between God and humanity. The stories within Enoch, especially those involving the Watchers and the archangels, are therefore deeply relevant in Ethiopian religious practices. The Church teaches that angels are both protectors and witnesses of human actions, keeping records of deeds that will one day be judged. This belief aligns closely with the imagery in Enoch, where angels not only guide Enoch through heavenly realms, but also monitor human activities and carry out divine punishments. The Ethiopian Orthodox view of angels as servants of God who uphold divine justice reinforces the moral teachings within Enoch, reminding believers that they are part of a larger, divinely ordered cosmos. The Book of Enoch has always intrigued those who seek hidden or esoteric knowledge. Its descriptions of celestial secrets, the nature of the universe, and divine mysteries have inspired mystics, scholars, and seekers for centuries. The book's references to astronomical knowledge, celestial mechanics, and the hidden workings of the cosmos suggest that Enoch was privy to a divine wisdom beyond human comprehension. This search for hidden knowledge is part of a broader human fascination with mystical texts. From the Book of Enoch to the Zohar in Jewish Kabbalah and the Emerald Tablet in alchemy, humans have always sought to understand the deeper mysteries of existence. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church teaches that while the pursuit of wisdom is important, it must always be done with humility and respect for divine limits. Enoch's story serves as a reminder that there are divine boundaries humans should not cross, and that true wisdom is ultimately a gift from God, not something to be acquired through pride or ambition. In Ethiopian Orthodoxy, spiritual ascent and the quest for divine knowledge are central themes. Monastic practices, prayer, and asceticism are all seen as paths to deeper understanding and communion with God. The story of Enoch's ascent through the heavens aligns closely with this tradition, symbolizing the soul's journey to divine closeness and enlightenment. The idea of mystical ascent, where the soul progresses through different stages of understanding and enlightenment, is also found in Sufi mysticism, Christian monasticism, and other spiritual traditions. Ethiopian mystics often interpret Enoch's journey as a model for their own spiritual practices, viewing Enoch as a figure who achieved profound closeness to God through devotion, humility, and divine grace. For Ethiopian Christians, the concept of mystical ascent is not just a theoretical idea, but a practical part of their spiritual lives. Enoch's story reminds them that such closeness to God is possible, serving as inspiration for those seeking a deeper connection with the divine. Enoch's message places a strong emphasis on justice, warning against the corruption that led the Watchers to their downfall. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church teaches that justice is a fundamental aspect of righteousness and that the ultimate goal of human life is to live in accordance with divine law. The Church views Enoch's teachings on justice and righteousness as essential elements of spiritual life, encouraging believers to uphold truth, compassion, and integrity. Ethiopian Orthodox teachings often draw on Enoch's warnings to illustrate the importance of resisting temptation and maintaining a commitment to ethical principles. The Church emphasizes that individuals are not only responsible for their actions, but also for ensuring that justice is upheld within their communities. For Ethiopian Christians, Enoch's prophecies serve as a call to live a life of service, compassion, and justice in accordance with God's will. The Book of Enoch also impacted medieval thought in both Christian and Islamic traditions. In Christian mysticism, especially among Gnostic and monastic communities, Enoch's journey and knowledge of divine mysteries became symbols of spiritual insight and the quest for ultimate truth. In Islam, Enoch is known as Idris, a prophet and wise figure who is believed to have been taken up to heaven and given special knowledge. Enoch's figure as an ascended prophet in Islam closely resembles his role in Ethiopian Christianity, where he is seen as a holy man who achieved divine closeness through righteousness and devotion. This cross-religious appreciation of Enoch highlights how his story speaks to universal human questions about spiritual knowledge and divine proximity. In Ethiopian monasteries, the Book of Enoch remains a text of contemplation, prayer, and inspiration. Monastic life in Ethiopia is characterized by rigorous spiritual discipline, fasting, prayer, and study. Enoch's journey through the heavens, his communion with angels, and his deep understanding of divine mysteries serve as powerful symbols for monks seeking a closer relationship with God. Monks often study Enoch's teachings as part of their spiritual education, learning about the virtues of humility, obedience, and unwavering faith. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church encourages monks and nuns to emulate Enoch's piety and devotion, reminding them that the path to divine knowledge is achieved through purity of heart and spiritual discipline. Enoch's visions have inspired artistic representations, particularly in Ethiopian Orthodox iconography, where angels, heavenly realms, and scenes of judgment are depicted in vibrant colors and intricate designs. Ethiopian religious art often portrays Enoch's ascent through the heavens, showing him surrounded by angels, witnessing the divine throne, or observing the fall of the Watchers. These visual representations serve as reminders of the themes within Enoch's teachings, particularly the importance of spiritual purity and divine justice. Enoch's influence on Ethiopian art reflects how deeply his story is embedded in Ethiopian culture, inspiring artists, monks, and ordinary believers to reflect on the divine mysteries. In the modern era, the Book of Enoch has gained interest among scholars, theologians, and spiritual seekers outside of Ethiopia. With the rise of interest in esoteric texts and ancient wisdom, Enoch's story has become a subject of fascination, particularly in the context of angelology, cosmology, and the origins of humanity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, however, remains cautious about how the Book of Enoch is interpreted, emphasizing its role as a sacred text meant for spiritual growth rather than as a source of speculative theories. For the Church, Enoch's message is ultimately one of faith, morality, and the pursuit of divine truth. The Church encourages modern readers to approach the text with humility and reverence, seeking to understand its teachings within the broader context of Ethiopian orthodoxy. In the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Enoch is a guidepost, reminding believers of the importance of humility, righteousness, and devotion to God's teachings. Its messages remain relevant for anyone grappling with questions of power, morality, and the human condition. The Book of Enoch endures because it addresses timeless questions about the origins of humanity, the nature of divine beings, and the spiritual laws governing existence. Thanks to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, this ancient text is still read, studied, and appreciated as part of humanity's spiritual heritage. Its message is a testament to the complex, multifaceted tradition of early Christianity and the spiritual vision of ancient Jewish writers. As we conclude, remember that the Book of Enoch challenges us to think about the mysteries of the universe and the ultimate journey of the soul. Whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, Enoch's message echoes through time, offering us insights into the unknown. And as long as there are seekers, the legacy of Enoch will continue to inspire. Continue to inspire. Continue to inspire. Continue to inspire. Nebuchadnezzar. The mighty King Nebuchadnezzar of ancient Babylon planned to set up a siege around Israel, taking it captive by force. As narrated in the Bible, God himself orchestrated this sinister idea to punish the descendants of Israel for their sins. And so, it's said that God allowed Nebuchadnezzar to capture the king of Israel, Joachim, slaughter thousands, and take thousands more captive. Even more, Nebuchadnezzar seized several sacred items from the Holy Temple, which he took back to Babylon as spoils of war. This singular victory was a mighty feat for Babylon, as the Israelites were known for being undefeatable in war. Tales of Nebuchadnezzar's victory soon spread abroad, cementing his name as the supreme king of his era, a colossal force that no other kingdom would dare go against. But Nebuchadnezzar had bigger dreams than merely capturing Israel. Once back in Babylon, the ambitious king ordered one of his top officials, a eunuch named Ashpenaz, to handpick the brightest, healthiest, and most promising young men from among the Israelite captives to serve in the Babylonian administration. These lucky young men were to be groomed for service in the royal Babylonian court. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to serve the greatest kingdom in the whole world at the time. Many young Israelites were chosen through this process, but 4 names stood out among them. They were Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. These young men seemed like any other lucky captive at first, but as time unfolded, they became the most respected and revered of all the wise men in Babylon. Ashpenaz gave them new Babylonian names. Daniel became known as Belteshazzar, Hananiah as Shadrach, Mishael as Meshach, and Azariah as Abednego. The exceptional exploits of Daniel and his friends began soon after they started their political training in Babylon. This included 3 years of intensive training in the Babylonian language, customs, and knowledge. During their training, the king arranged for them to be fed with the choicest food and wine from his table. He made this kind gesture so that the young men would be well-nourished and fit to serve in his court. But in the face of this appetizing offering, Daniel and his friends decided not to eat the rich food and wine provided by the king. For Daniel, eating the king's meat meant defiling his body and going against the principles that had defined his life from childhood. And so, he spoke to the chief of the king's palace attendants, asking for permission to be fed a simpler diet not from the king's table. Baffled by this request and unwilling to displease the king, the chief of the attendants initially objected. The faithful attendant feared he would be in deep problems if Daniel looked lean and less healthy or vibrant compared to the other young men who were eating the king's food. Unrelenting, however, Daniel proposed a test. He and his friends would eat only vegetables and drink water for 10 days, after which their health and appearance would be compared to that of the other young men who had been dining on the king's fancy meals. The chief of the attendants agreed to this. Everyone in the palace was shocked at the results at the end of the trial period, as Daniel and his companions looked much healthier than their colleagues who had been indulging in the king's food. Seeing the mind-blowing results, the king's chief attendant granted Daniel's wish, allowing him and his compatriots to have their fill of vegetables while others wined and dined as they pleased. As time passed, the 4 young lads grew healthier and livelier than all the other recruits. But this wasn't the final benchmark. You see, when it came to intellectual abilities, none could match these 4 men from Jerusalem. From intelligence to foresight and deep insight, these guys stood out among the crowd, their eyes shining with supernatural wisdom. In every test of intellect and knowledge that the king presented, they passed with flying colors. This was a splendid and astonishing turn of events. It was evident that God gifted these young outsiders with exceptional understanding and wisdom. Daniel and his colleagues soon climbed the ranks to become very popular in the palace. However, it wasn't until the following monumental event happened a year later that Daniel and his 3 friends truly became famous in all of Babylon. That fateful day began like any other, except for one thing. The king had a strange dream the previous night that sent shockwaves through his entire mind, soul, and body. To worsen things, the king's dream had a dark meaning, one that he could not wrap his head around no matter how hard he tried. Confused and rattled to the bone, King Nebuchadnezzar summoned all the wise men and mystical experts in his kingdom. High-level enchanters, magicians, sorcerers, and Chaldeans were all summoned to the royal court. When they arrived, Nebuchadnezzar made a request that threw all of Babylon's wisest men into a panic. He demanded that they tell him the exact dream he had the night before and the interpretation. This strange request puzzled the wise men, as they couldn't even fathom what the king dreamt on his bed, much less know the interpretation. But King Nebuchadnezzar was unfazed, adding that if they couldn't tell him both the dream and its interpretation, he would have them beheaded each and every one of them. In a fit of rage, Nebuchadnezzar threatened to destroy all the wise men of Babylon if they couldn't grant his enigmatic request. Feeling helpless, the Babylonians confessed that the king's request was beyond impossible. They stressed that no man alive could perform such a feat, and only the gods themselves could do his bidding. These excuses only provoked Nebuchadnezzar the more, so he ordered the total annihilation of all the wise men in Babylon. The king's decree was swift, and within seconds, guards had already begun to round up every sorcerer, scholar, enchanter, and other categories of wise folks in the province. But here's the shocking thing. They weren't going to annihilate Babylonian wise men alone. The king's decree extended to the new recruits from Israel. Daniel was puzzled when the captain of the royal guard came swiftly to round him and his 3 Hebrew friends up. However, after hearing about the king's crisis and the gravity of the situation at hand, Daniel proposed to solve the riddle within 3 days. The deal was simple. If he couldn't solve the riddle within the stipulated time, he, his friends, and every other important person regarding matters of knowledge and mystics would have their heads cut off. It was a do-or-die situation, and Daniel was willing to risk it all. Daniel gathered his friends, and they prayed to the God of heaven for wisdom and revelation on the matter. That very night, the mystery was unveiled to Daniel. Armed with this new revelation, Daniel boldly approached the king and was given an audience. And that's when he did the impossible. Daniel started by giving glory to God as the one who reveals secrets, before revealing to King Nebuchadnezzar what he had dreamt while he slept. It turned out that the king's dreams weren't mere dreams, but had a deep meaning as it told of a dark future that was soon to come. In King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he saw a colossal and breathtaking statue with a head of gold, arms and chest of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, and feet partly of clay and iron. This statue stood tall as a great and mighty phenomenon in all of its awe and beauty. But shockingly, out of nowhere, a mysterious stone not cut by human hands struck the image's feet, causing it to crumble into powder. The enigmatic scene continued with the wind blowing away every last trace of this once great statue until it was like it never existed. And then, in a shocking twist, the mysterious stone began to grow large and mighty till it became a great mountain filling the whole earth. The king nodded in affirmation while Daniel recounted every detail of what he had dreamt. But the real mind-blower was when he began the interpretation. Daniel interpreted, saying that the mighty head of gold in the dream was King Nebuchadnezzar, and each of the subsequent body parts of the statue represented various kings that would arise after him. The silver arms and chest stood for a lesser kingdom that would rise after him, and after that, lesser kingdoms would arise, each symbolized by different materials of decreasing value. According to Daniel, the 4th kingdom, represented by iron, would be the strongest, crushing everything in its path. The mixed iron and clay in the feet signified a divided kingdom, partly strong and partly brittle. Just as iron mixed with clay turns out weak in some parts and strong in others, this kingdom would have both strong and weak aspects. However, in the wake of this controversial kingdom, the God of heaven would establish a kingdom that would never fall and would cover the whole earth, standing forever. This final part of the revelation was depicted as the weird stone that smashed the statue in pieces and grew to become colossal, filling the whole earth. After Daniel's account of the dream and its interpretation, King Nebuchadnezzar was stunned, as were his wise men and political associates. Daniel was greatly honored and rewarded with a high position in Babylon, overseeing its affairs in the king's palace. This was a major milestone in the journey of the 4 Hebrew boys, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. This moment shot them to stardom, separating them from the countless other physicians, scholars, and educated folk in the palace. However, this wasn't the only life-changing moment for these young men. In fact, the most epic encounter that shot these men to greatness and supremacy in Babylon came soon after an incident with a blazing furnace. You see, once upon a time, King Nebuchadnezzar made a colossal statue of himself, ordering the entire Babylonian nation to bow down and worship it or face certain death. All worshiped the image, all but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Despite the threat of death, the three men stood their ground, daring the king to do his worst. Fueled with rage, Nebuchadnezzar ordered them to be thrown into a raging furnace, heated 7 times for good measure. The hellish flames were so hot that they devoured the soldiers who bound these men to cast them into it. Imagine the shock when the 3 Hebrews were seen walking inside the fire instead of getting roasted to ashes. Amidst the flames, they were singing praises to God and honoring His name. They were all unburnt, and it was reported that a celestial being even walked with them, making them 4 in the fire. This realization threw Nebuchadnezzar into a frenzy. Subsequently, he ordered the 3 men to be brought out and their God to be worshipped forever as the one true God. It was one of those unforgettable moments when the impossible happened right in the midst of a life-threatening situation. But just so you know, these mind-blowing tales of Daniel and his friends are merely the ones found in the biblical scriptures. Many more tales of this awe-inspiring prophet exist in a hidden, isolated book, the Additions to Daniel. This interesting full text includes 3 chapters about Daniel that are not found in the Christian Bible. The major eye-opening stories in this passage are the stories of Susanna, a deity named Bel, and a dragon. The tale of Susanna follows the life and near death of a young, beautiful woman named Susanna, who was wrongly accused. Susanna's epic tale starts in the home of her husband, a wealthy Babylonian man named Joachim. Susanna and her husband were highly respected, and she was not only beautiful but also deeply devout in her faith, having been raised by righteous parents who kept the law. However, things changed when 2 elders got attracted to Susanna after frequently visiting her husband. Enchanted by her natural charm and beauty, the elders slowly became consumed by their lust for her. Turning away from their divinely ordained duties, they began to devise a means to have carnal knowledge of the innocent woman. At first, the elders kept their desires hidden, ashamed to confess their unholy thoughts to the young bride. However, one fateful day, Susanna went to the garden alone to do some work. After a while, she decided to freshen up because it was hot. After shutting the garden doors for privacy during her bath, she turned around and found the 2 men in front of her. They had been hiding and watching the whole time, unknown to her. When the 2 elders approached her, they said, "Look, the garden doors are closed and no one can see us. We love you and want to be with you. If you don't agree, we'll accuse you of being with a young man and sending your maids away." Susanna was left with an impossible choice. Being accused of adultery as a married woman was punishable by death, so she could either give these men their desire and walk out free or refuse and risk being stoned to death. Trapped but unwilling to compromise her faith, she said, "I feel cornered. If I obey your demand, it means death for me. But if I refuse, I can't escape your power over me. I'd rather face whatever consequences you have in store for me than sin in the eyes of the Lord." Her heart broke as she cried out. Unmoved by her plea, the 2 elders went ahead with the accusation, setting off a commotion among the household servants as they pointed fingers at the poor woman who was half-clad. Feeling a deep sense of shame, Susanna stared helplessly as her reputation, which had been spotless, got tarnished right before her due to baseless accusations. A raging crowd gathered the next day, including Joachim, her husband. The ignorant crowd was completely unaware of the sinister plot playing right before their eyes. All they knew was that a woman had been caught in the act and deserved to die. In front of the assembled crowd, the 2 elders demanded the presence of Susanna along with her entire family. There and then, an unjust trial commenced as the wicked men, consumed by envy of her beauty, told lies against the young bride. Tears streamed down Susanna's cheeks as the elders recounted how they had caught her with a young man who fled after seeing them. The elders pressed Susanna to reveal the identity of her sin partner, but she kept mute. Of course, she couldn't say anything because there was no such person, and these were all lies. But in the eyes of the congregation, her silence only meant one thing: guilty. And so, without further ado, they condemned Susanna to death. This cruel accusation caused the young lady to break down in tears, hoping for some sort of miracle. And the miracle did come, in the form of Daniel. You see, just as Susanna was about to be executed, young Daniel, filled with the Holy Spirit, spoke out boldly, claiming she was innocent. In a mind-boggling twist of fate, Daniel accused the elders of falsehood and requested that the crime be examined. Daniel's proposal was simple. If these men were telling the truth, they would state the scene of the crime where they caught the woman in adultery, and nothing would happen to them. However, if their accusations were false and they lied, they would die on the spot. Fueled by wisdom from God, Daniel asked both elders where they had found the woman. They both lied, and they both died on the spot, struck by an angel with a sword. Gasps filled the air as the crowd watched with shock and amazement while the events unfolded. Soon they erupted into praises to God as the accused woman was suddenly declared innocent of her crimes. Once again, Daniel's reputation soared among the people. But this wasn't the end of his extraordinary acts. Another story of great intrigue took place when Cyrus of Persia ruled the kingdom. In those days, the people of Babylon worshipped an idol named Bel. Bel had a habit of consuming sacrifices. It consumed 12 measures of flour, 40 sheep, and 6 vessels of wine every day. Thanks to this strange belief that the deity could eat, the king wholly believed in Bel. But Daniel knew that the deity was not what many thought it was, so he refused to worship it. To prove that Bel was unworthy of worship, Daniel offered to show the king that the sacrifices were never consumed by the deity itself, but by the humans who crafted it. The biblical stories narrating Enoch's life are some of the most engaging in biblical theological literature. As evidenced by his representation in multiple religious and mythological texts, Enoch was known not only in the Hebrew Bible, but also in some Christian traditions. In these accounts, Enoch is depicted as the great-grandfather of Noah, the sole survivor of the Great Flood, as chronicled in Genesis 5:18-24. Enoch's story, however, astonishingly took a twist when he was said to have walked very close to God and was eventually taken into heaven without facing death. This was after he had lived for about 365 years, an amazing lifespan considering the average human lifespan today. Enoch's ascension into heaven may be the start of a journey that proves to be both fortifying and amusing. Another notable element of Enoch's ascension to heaven, as mentioned in the Bible, is the revelations he received. He is said to have received profound revelations on the secrets of creation and the mysteries related to the cosmos and the destiny of man. He duly and accurately noted these adventures, eventually leading to the Book of Enoch. Although Enoch was not the author, the book is attributed to him. It is a collection of the sacred writings of ancient Jews. The Book of Enoch explores Enoch's experience in greater length, including visions and teachings that are said to have been revealed to him. Its rich and valuable content includes lessons that awe people with their depth of knowledge. So the question is, what secrets are exposed by the Book of Enoch? Enoch's mystical and supernatural experience is a journey to heavenly spheres with elevation by mighty angels or divine messengers of God. This ascension represents one's departure from the earthly realm and entry into the dominion of heaven, a distinction between the human and celestial realms. Enoch walks with various angels, each playing a unique part and having individual functions within an angelic hierarchy, including archangels, seraphim, cherubim, and other ethereal characters. Enoch converses with these beings, and they reveal to him the names of the archangels and their positions from the highest to the lowest in the heavenly hierarchy. Such encounters emphasize the principle of a God-ordained order. Angels, being the messengers between the Creator and humankind, fulfill God's instructions through their ordained roles. At the highest level is God, the Almighty Creator and ruler of all things. According to Enoch, cherubim and seraphim are the angels closest to the domain of God Almighty. The seraphim, with their burning six-winged bodies that continuously sing praises and worship God, represent the fiery warriors. The cherubim, who safeguard the divine wisdom, are commonly positioned at the throne of God. There are also the archangels, the high-ranking angels, who are messengers of God and agents of His will. They serve as the divine messengers who look over all the events in the cosmos and enforce divine pronouncements. Some archangels mentioned in this Book of Enoch are Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel. Additionally, Enoch describes the Ophanim and wheels within his celestial visions. These angelic beings are associated with divine chariots and heavenly thrones, contributing to the celestial machinery of God's rule and being closely linked to God's presence. Enoch also speaks of angelic orders of principalities, powers, and rulerships tasked with supervising different parts of the universe. While principalities could have dominion over nations or groups of people, powers and rulers would have been granted jurisdiction over celestial bodies and natural phenomena. From administrators to warriors, their diverse roles are vital to maintaining universal order within the system based on the principle of hierarchy. Among these decrees is an angelic group called the Watchers, who God charged with looking after and guiding humanity. While guarding humans, they ensure we comply with God's purposes. However, most of the Watchers under the command of the leader, Samyaza, refused to fulfill their mission. They came to Earth, took human wives, and had hybrid kids called the Nephilim. The Nephilim became giant warriors who filled the world with evil and taught the people of hidden mysteries, which led to widespread anxiety and discord. However, not all Watchers deviated from God's purpose. The saints who remained faithful to God and refused to be part of the rebellion were also used to assert divine justice and order. The Watchers who defiled their divine purpose were divided into a group called the Grigori. Along with their descendants, the Nephilim, they were allowed to roam the earth, causing much devastation until that finally led to the Great Flood. The spiritual and mystically significant claim of Enoch's vision of heaven and angels in the Book of Enoch highlights the human possibility of communicating with the divine and gaining knowledge beyond the realm of earth. His experiences of heavenly mysteries were conveyed in religious traditions as an example of the transformative power of mystical experiences. In addition, the book reveals Enoch's most exciting adventure. The narrative describes how Enoch journeys deep into the earth's bowels while also traveling to Sheol, the abode of the dead. Indeed, this narrative illuminates more of Enoch's experiences beyond the realm of heaven. Enoch's journey starts to uncover the mysteries of the earth. It's not just a physical exploration, but a spiritual and cosmic experience in its deepest roots. Through his eyes, we see the true depths of the world down to its very interior, looking into the very fabrics of the universe. In his journey, he is able to connect with different natural forces, including fire, water, earth, and air, that are harmonious within nature. The sensation he encounters brings a feeling of awe that is strange to normal daily life as he glimpses the cycle of life and death. This peculiar journey brings to our attention that the whole earth symbolizes divine law and order. Enoch's journey continues as he descends to Sheol, the underworld abode. In many religious and mythological traditions, Sheol is described as a realm where souls are stowed away for judgment or eternity. In this domain, Enoch witnesses the fate of both the wicked and the righteous, a heartbreaking sign of divine justice. He narrates the impact of human actions, the just rewards for honorable deeds, and the searing punishments for evil ones, illustrating the spirit world and the moral universe that controls it. His Sheol experience is not merely about seeing, it is beyond passively observing. It is the spiritual revelation that proves that human choice may suffer eternal consequences and helps to believe in the existence of a greater purpose and order that goes beyond the physical realm. These experiences set Enoch apart from other prophets and play a critical role in making him a great visionary and messenger of divine knowledge. On an excursion into the universe and the underworld, he encounters the numinous and the transmundane, which explain the riddles of creation and existence. They also provide insights into the divine mystery of justice. Enoch's encounters with angelic beings during his ascent into the heavens give him insight into what happened with creation, God's secret design, and how the universe operates. His journey into the otherworldly realm of celestial beings stands out more like a cosmic astronomy night class, where individuals learn much about the cosmic order and the mechanics of the heavenly bodies that govern the universe. From these interactions, he develops a comprehensive and gradual awareness of creation's inner workings and how man is a part of it. According to the Book of Enoch, during his journey to the celestial realm, Enoch learned about other subjects like astronomy, astrology, and time measurement. From there, he acquired advanced astronomical knowledge of the vast cosmos, solar system, stars, and other planets. These ideas were valuable for recognizing the formations of stars and understanding their place in the overall magnificence of the universe. The knowledge Enoch acquired on astrology did not end on horoscopes. He understood how the arrangement of the celestial bodies determines human events and destiny, viewing them as an integral part of the divine plan linked to life on Earth. Enoch's journey also caused him to reflect on the concept of time. He could grasp the idea of the divisions of time, days, months, and years, and how they were connected with cosmic movements. This awareness provided clear evidence that time is, in essence, aligned with the law of God and proceeds in forms of cycles, not finite straight lines. Although Enoch had a good grasp of astronomy, astrology, and the calendar, that wasn't just intellectual. It was a profound spiritual insight into the connection between the earthly and heavenly realms, which manifested the cosmos as a word of the divine wisdom.